Listen up, fellow security professionals and system admins. Welcome to an urgent Code Ninja Security Advisory Explainer. Look, in the spirit of Coordinated Vulnerability Disclosure, or CVD, and total transparency, we've got to talk about CVE 2026-42926 right now. It's a newly disclosed flaw hitting NGINX Open Source, and it demands our absolute focus. As defenders, we live and die by timely intel, and honestly, our perimeter is facing a zero-day threat today that we literally have to act on.
So the objective for this explainer? It's crystal clear. We're here to give you immediate mitigation strategies for the zero-day and, frankly, apply some serious pressure to force a rapid vendor patch. The target is NGINX Open Source. You know it, I know it. It's a foundational piece of web infrastructure all over the globe. The threat? HTTP/2 frame injection. And guys, when a core proxy engine is compromised at the frame level, the integrity of your upstream routing is entirely at risk. No joke.
To really grasp why we're sounding the alarm so hard today, let's look at how fast this timeline moved. On May 13th, F5 Networks officially dropped the disclosure to the National Vulnerability Database. Literally one day later, Canonical's Ubuntu security tracker flagged major distros as missing fixes, and Tenable immediately pushed Nessus plugin 314519 to hunt down these unpatched environments. Fast forward to May 15th, and downstream open source projects like NGINX UI were just getting flooded with demands for an upgraded proxy engine. By May 16th, active project triage was in full swing across the community. This timeline perfectly illustrates the glaring gap in official backports and exactly why defenders need to step up right now.
Okay, moving on to part 1. Security protocol, comms check.
Look, in an active threat scenario like this, establishing a verified comms link between us researchers and you system admins is completely non-negotiable. I need you to secure your real-time intelligence feed right now. Step 1. Subscribe to @cybertech79 and turn on notifications. Consider this an absolute security necessity so you don't miss the subsequent patch drops. Step 2. Hit that like button. That gives me a formal ACK, or acknowledgement of receipt for this intel. And Step 3, drop a comment with your status for our live census.
I'm actually asking you directly here. Look at your edge infrastructure. Are you patched, or are you vulnerable right now? Sound off in the comments. And look, this isn't just for engagement metrics. It actively helps our white hat community gauge the real-world blast radius of this unpatched vulnerability. We really need to know who is exposed out there.
All right, part 2, the protocol. Defining the blast radius.
Let's dive right into the technical specifics of this threat and figure out exactly who is sitting in the crosshairs. We've got to define the impact, the attack vectors, and the exact conditions that turn your safe, secure proxy into an attacker's playground. Now check out this CVSS 4.0 score of 6.3. Please do not let that medium severity label lull you into a false sense of security. The absolutely crucial thing here is the exploitality metrics. This vulnerability requires 0 privileges. 0. It needs absolutely no user interaction whatsoever, and the attack complexity is distinctly categorized as low over a network vector. So what does that mean? It makes it an incredibly attractive target for automated network exploitation scripts. They will find you.
The core weakness we're dealing with here is tracked as CVE-172 and encoding error. Basically, the product mishandles character encoding or decoding, so attackers can use alternate encodings, double encodings, or even escaped slashes to completely bypass your validation logic. The result? An adversary can successfully inject HTTP/2 frame headers and arbitrary payload bytes straight into your upstream peer. They're effectively hijacking the traffic flow right behind your proxy. It's a real mess.
And this brilliantly illustrates the specific danger zone in your config files. Your perimeter is breached if, and literally only if, your NGINX Open Source is configured to proxy HTTP/2 traffic, meaning you've got proxy_HTTP_version2 set, and you are simultaneously using the proxy set body directive. If you have both of those lines sitting in your active config, an attacker can absolutely exploit that encoding error we just talked about.
To make matters worse, the situation is compounded by a total lack of vendor readiness. Just look at this list from Canonical. Every single major long-term support Ubuntu distribution, stretching all the way back to Trusty and right up to Noble and Resolute, is currently sitting in a needs evaluation status. That confirms that official package backports are simply unavailable from the OS repositories right now. So if you're relying purely on standard apt-get upgrade commands today, you are 100% still exposed.
Which brings us to part 3, mitigation, the patch protocol.
Look, we can't just sit around waiting for Linux distros to backport these fixes. We need a proactive patch protocol. But first, I've got an urgent warning straight from our community triage. While tracking this HTTP/2 frame injection flaw, downstream open source users, specifically over in the NGINX UI project on GitHub issue 1675, found that Edge servers running these older NGINX versions are also exposed to CVE-2026-42926. That is a critical heap buffer overflow vulnerability with a massive CVSS of 9.2, and it allows unauthenticated remote code execution. So you aren't just patching an injection flaw today, you are closing a critical RCE vector. This is serious.
So the most crucial takeaway here is executing these exact mitigation steps immediately. First, audit your proxy configurations across your entire fleet. You're hunting for that intersection of HTTP/2 and proxy_set_body. Second, if your business logic allows for it, temporarily remove the proxy_set_body directive or downgrade the proxy HTTP version. That will break the exploit chain entirely. Third, and honestly most importantly, circumvent those OS package managers if you have to, and manually upgrade your NGINX binaries to version 1.301 or the 1.31.0 mainline. Those versions have fundamentally patched these vulnerabilities.
Finally, Part 4. CVD, Protecting the Perimeter.
As we wrap up this technical briefing, I want to briefly touch on the white hat code that's driving this disclosure. Coordinated vulnerability disclosure isn't about causing panic, okay? It's about shifting the advantage away from the adversary and putting it right back into the hands of the defender. The core philosophy is incredibly simple. Users need to know to protect their systems. Transparency is literally our ultimate weapon against automated network exploitation. By sharing this intel clearly and structuring these mitigation steps, we force the vendors' hands to speed up their patching timelines, and we empower you to lock down your environments before the scanners ever find you.
So, ensure you've completed your comms check by subscribing and verifying your status down in the comments. Take this intelligence, audit your NGINX configs, and patch those binaries. In this wild landscape of zero-day threats, you have to ask yourself, are you actively defending your perimeter, or are you just waiting to be the next headline? Maintain extreme vigilance across all your infrastructure deployments. I'll catch you in the next briefing. Stay secure.